Hey, CAD 101. All right, we are on to example 4 and example 5. One thing I want to go over before we go any farther is for these two examples this week, and you're going to do 2 this week. The only view you're going to do is the top view. So the view that you see right here, that's what you're going to have on your paper. You're not going to have, a front view and a side view. It'll just be one view for this drawing as well as this drawing right here. So the example 4 is a little bit easier. Example 5 can be a bit more challenging. You got some more features on here, but this is all stuff that you should be able to handle. I'm going to show you a couple new tools and a couple new ways of laying out a drawing. So in example 4, you're going to notice that the origin is in the center of the part. Typically, I usually like to have my origin on the lower left corner of the parts when I begin to draw them, because a lot of these dimensions are based off of the center point of this circle. It makes more sense to have your origin at the center of this circle. And you'll see when I show you kind of where my construction lines are, why that makes a little bit more sense. So I'm going to drag this one off to the side right here. And basically, my construction lines, so this would be the center of the circle, and we're going to build off of the center of the circle and do everything else. So we got a center line running down and across, and then I've dropped one offset line that's 1.12 down from the center. I'm going to drag this back in. So that's where this construction line comes in right here, this one running across. So I have my center line, and then I've got my other center line coming down here, and then I've offset this line here as a reference. And now I'm going to draw this circular construction line. So we can also have circular construction lines. Those will also come in handy. So I'm going to leave my grid snap turned on for now. And it's not snapping to that. So I'm going to press and hold Shift and then right click. And I'll say, I'll actually just say intersection on this one. Okay, that's why I needed my circle tool on. There we go. Okay, so we're going to drag out, and I'm going to say D enter because I want to input the diameter, because that's what I'm given, 2.25. Enter. Okay, and here's what my construction lines currently look like. So I'm going to bring this drawing back over here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this first circle. And I actually drew my construction line the wrong size. So I'm going to redraw that. It's supposed to be 4.5. I misread it. So I'm going to redraw this circle in just a second. And then I'm going to draw this line, or this circle, on the 0 layer. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to lay out these circles here around the edges. Okay. I'm just going to convert that and actually put it on the white layer instead of deleting it. Then I'm going to go back to my construction layer. Put it on there. Okay. And then this is going to be D enter and 4.5. Okay. All right, so what you're going to notice now is we've got, between this circle and this line, we've got some intersection points, and that's where we're going to lay out our other circles. So based on, I'm going to turn my grid snap off. And then looking at the drawing, I've got 3 circles at 0.56. And in the drawing, you're going to see some dimensions that say, 0.56 times 3. That means 3 times. So you can now assume that those 3 circles around the edges are going to all be 0.56. And you'll see that from time to time, a times 3 or a times 2 or whatever number. Okay, so D, enter. You got 0.56, enter. Okay, so now we've got our 3 through holes. And what I'm going to do next is something I want you to take notice of. So these up here, we could potentially make these as fillets. And I'm going to go over the fillet command next, but we're actually going to draw these as circles. So we're going to draw them as complete circles around the outside of our original circles. So again, the circle tool. And that one is 0.56, but it's a radius. So yeah, so R enter just to make sure it's a radius. Actually, it's already a radius in there, so 0.56. 0.56. And 0.56. All right. So now we've got 2 circles. And these are called concentric circles. And so that means their center points are lined up, even though they're different size circles. They're concentric because their center points are aligned with one another. So, all right, so then we're going to grab our line tool, and I'm going to press and hold the shift button down, and then I'm going to right click on the mouse. I'm going to get my quick snaps, and I'm going to use the tangent snap right there. And I'm going to snap, and you can see how the cursor changes and just stays on that tangent kind of icon. We're going to click roughly where we want that line to be placed. And then we're going to, again, hold shift, right click, tangents, and then we're going to look for that tangent symbol kind of on this side of the circle. We're not going to go to this side of the circle. We're going to this side. And then we've got a tangent line. So we're going to do that one more time. Tangent. Okay, so now you can start to see this coming together. We're then going to use our trim command up here. So we've got our trim tool. We're going to bring the cursor into the graphics area, and then we're going to press enter to select all of our objects. So enter, and then we can begin to trim away the lines that we don't need. All right, so now you can start to see how you can use 2 circles in combination with one another to create a feature like that. A fillet that is concentric, that goes around the outside of a through hole. That's a pretty common thing to have happen, is to have a hole and then a flange or some sort of radius that goes around that bolt pattern. Okay. For the next drawing, so for example 5, the only other additional tool in order to lay these out, actually there's 2 that I'm going to go over, is the radius tool I'll go over. And then I'm going to go over how to draw this triangle inside this circle. That's pretty easy if you know where the tool is. So I'm going to switch over here. So we're going to talk about fillets. I'm going to grab my line tool. Okay, and here's how the fillet tool works. And it is right here below the trim command. Okay, so right down here in the command line, you can type in radius, so R, enter, and that's going to let you input a value. And so all fillets are dimensioned with a radius. So the way something is dimensioned, whether it's dimensioned by the radius, the R in the front, or a diameter, which would be these circles and this circle. So we've got the dimension symbol in front of the 1.25. If it's a complete circle, like uninterrupted, uncut circle, it's going to be a diameter. If it's a partial circle or a cut circle with like a circle with a section taken out of it, it's going to be dimensioned as a radius, so half the diameter. So that's how those dimensioning standards work. Okay, so we're doing a radius because we're doing a fillet. So R, enter. Okay, and it wants to know the fillet radius. And if we look at our drawing, that fillet radius is 0.525. Enter. Select first object and select second object. So we'll go to the fillet tool again. I'll say radius, R, enter. It comes up with the last radius that was used. So 0.525, you can just hit enter again. And you've got a radius. So, so that'll come in handy today on example 5. And then for the triangle that's inscribed inside that other circle, we're going to go ahead and draw a circle. And that circle is in a diameter, so D, enter, and it's 1.25. And then to do the triangle, you're going to come up here to this tool right here. And by default, it's usually the 2-point rectangle. It's going to look like this. But you're going to go to the drop down and you're going to go to polygon. And it says enter a number of sides of a polygon. And we're going to say 3 because a triangle is 3-sided. Enter. And the center of that polygon. And you can make the center snap active if you just hover around the perimeter, and then you get the little cross in the middle. And it says inscribed circle. So that means the triangle would be inside of the circle, which is what we want right now. We'll hit enter. And then we've got a triangle drawn in there. So pretty simple as long as you know where that tool is. So, all right. So these will be, this one in particular will definitely challenge your ability to create good layout lines, good construction lines, and pay attention to where you're snapping to. So the one thing you want to really pay attention to is that all of your lines are actually snapping to corners, and that your construction lines and actual object lines are horizontal and vertical, and you're not missing your snap points. That can throw off students, and you can get, once you get off on some dimensions, then when you go to dimension your drawing, the dimensions aren't quite accurate. So, okay. This will take a little bit of patience, but you guys can do it because you're going to do it in the same way we've done our drawings so far. And yeah, let me know if you have questions. and have fun with us. Should be cool.